I know I'm really lucky. I'm really blessed.
What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to get into a video about Austin Forkner. As a lot of you probably already know, a lot of things are changing in Austin and his racing career right now. And we've all seen Austin be pretty successful throughout his career, so it'd be easy to say, hey, maybe this is Austin's year. Things are changing and maybe it'll be great. But if you zoom out and really look at what's going on, things are a lot crazier than you expect. I actually made a whole video on Austin and his story a while back, and let me tell you, even I'm pretty blown away by just how crazy Austin's situation is getting right now. If you take a few steps back and really zoom out and look at what's going on with Austin right now, things are pretty crazy, so I'm gonna break it down for you guys. Let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we got to establish is that Austin Forkner is changing teams. We did see him post on Instagram recently, basically saying farewell to his team Kawasaki. Now this just by itself is really not that crazy. We have known that this was coming, but even knowing that it was coming, it's still pretty crazy because that's the only team Austin's ever really known. He's been riding for them for so long, even into his amateur career. So just this right here is already a pretty massive change for Austin. Now, while nothing is officially confirmed yet, we pretty much know for sure that Austin is going to Team Triumph, and that's going to play a pretty significant role in the factors of what Austin's trajectory is going to be, and that's really what I want to dive into in today's video. So if we look back through Austin's career, obviously he's had some great success, some really good speed, and also a lot of crashes and some really bad injuries. We've seen Austin come really close to winning the Supercross title multiple times. He almost beat Chase Sexton one year, and now look at where Chase Sexton is now. It may surprise some people to know that Austin has tried to get through a Supercross season 8 times now and has yet to be successful in completing every round of Supercross. Now I know some people would say, Austin, it's time to hang it up. You know, this is just not your sport. You can't stay safe. Just go home and, you know, enjoy your family and enjoy your life while you still can. Me personally, I'm on the other side of that argument. I think Austin's extremely talented and loves to race, so I'm all for him still competing. He's definitely aware that there is an issue. He tried to make the changes in the offseason of 2023 going into 2024, and he switched trainers to train with Rhino, and that looked like it was actually working out really well. We saw him really get off to a solid start in Supercross. He pretty much dominated against Hayden Deegan in the first round, and he actually took a commanding pass against Hayden in round number 2, and then unfortunately we saw that absolutely brutal crash, and that pretty much ended up not only ending his season but also essentially ending his career with Kawasaki. So that right there has to be pretty discouraging. It seems like you finally got the ball rolling and you did make some pretty big changes to try to stay more consistent. He did work a lot on his riding technique to try to be more consistent and not make so many mistakes that would cause crashes. And we did see him riding very smoothly up until that moment. Interestingly, there were some outlying circumstances that you could technically point to that could have caused that crash. He did lose one contact during the race, so he was not having the best vision. On top of that, the arm that actually ended up coming off of the handlebars and played a big role in him flying that far off the track is the arm that he's having nerve issues in and has had multiple surgeries on. And while that definitely still could play a factor in his future racing, I definitely think that you could point to that as an outlier cause that probably won't happen all the time. With that being said, I do think it's worth noting that he did get Lasik surgery and he will not be racing with contacts anymore. So that's definitely something that could be an advantage moving forward. He won't have to worry about his contacts falling out in the future. But let's get into the big change here with the team change to Triumph Racing. So when I look at this team change, this might be a little bit of an oversimplification, but I see a lot of comparisons between Austin Forkner and Zach Osborne. Now your first reaction might be, what the heck are you talking about? Those two guys are completely different. But let me just stop you right there and let's just look at this real quick. So Zach Osborne switched to Rockstar Husqvarna 8 years after his full-time Supercross debut. Now, yes, he did go to Europe and race, so not the same trajectory as Austin Forkner, but let's also look at the management at Rockstar Husqvarna. They are now managing Team Triumph Racing. Both Bobby Hewitt and Steve Westfall moved over to Triumph Racing as that team was being generated, and they were both integral parts of that team that Zach Osborne joined. And if you look at Zach Osborne's trajectory of his career, once he joined Rockstar Husqvarna, it absolutely went through the roof. In 2017, he ended up winning the Supercross title, and he ended up winning the next 2 titles after that with the 2017 Pro Motocross Championship and then the 2018 Supercross Championship. And then he even went on to win a Premier Class Championship in 2020. Those are some truly remarkable accomplishments, and I have to wonder if Zach does not join that team at that time, does he ever end up getting there? So all of that is to say that we've already seen these guys take a brand new manufacturer, joining the sport, grabbing some already established riders, and making them champions. Austin Forkner is almost exactly as far into his career as Zach Osborne was when he joined Rockstar Husqvarna, and the management of Rockstar Husqvarna has moved over to Triumph, and they've been off to a pretty solid start developing that team. Now, I still think there is definitely a chance that Austin ends up having a rough go at it, but at the same time, we also know that the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I think it's a really good idea for Austin to go ahead and take a shot with Triumph Racing. We already saw him take some pretty interesting changes in the offseason last year. Now, obviously that did not end up making a huge difference because he still ended up crashing out of the season. But again, I think there are some arguments that could be made that that was almost like an outlier type of crash. Either way though, one thing we know for sure is that Austin has shown time and time again that he can get a serious injury and then return to the sport ready to win right out of the gate. We saw that once again in 2024, and we have seen that a countless amount of times throughout his career. I think it is extremely likely that Austin Forkner gets Triumph their first ever win, and I also think that there is a reasonable chance that Triumph Racing delivers Austin Forkner his first championship. Now, obviously for that to happen, both sides of that team have a long ways to go. Triumph has to keep working on their motorcycle. Austin has to get on that motorcycle and grind and get back in shape and just get back into racing. So it's going to be really interesting to see exactly how this plays out. It's also going to be really interesting to see exactly who rides on what coast. I would expect for Austin to probably be going east. He tends to go east anyways, and that would probably give him the best chance to fully get gelled with that motorcycle and just kind of develop it in the way that he wants. And it also sounds like Hayden Deegan is potentially going to race the West Coast Supercross Series. So if that's the case, that would allow him to not have to race Hayden. But at the same time, I don't think he's overly concerned with that. We did already see him be able to not only keep up with Hayden, but actually pass and pull away from Hayden last season. Now, I think you could also argue that Hayden has gotten better since then. And I do think it would be foolish to think that Austin can just come in and beat Hayden no matter what. But I also think it would be foolish to think that Hayden is just going to get handed the title wherever he ends up. But could you imagine if Austin Forkner can line up for Triumph Racing and he ends up delivering them their first win, and not only their first win, but their first championship, and on his 9th try, he ends up getting that elusive Supercross championship. What a comeback story that would be, and literally what a triumph that would be. What a crazy story. I would love to see it. Definitely gonna be tough, but definitely something that I could see happening. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Would you want to see that? Do you think it could happen? And what are your thoughts about Austin Forkner and his situation? Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.